And that one, you want to change it to my IP.
Okay.
Okay, which is remove that, click X on that. It's probably the same. You did it right. So, okay, select that drop down and select my IP.
All right.
Okay. Okay, that is fine, fine. That is then click save rules. It probably won't let you save it because you didn't change anything. Okay, good. Click cancel.
Okay.
All right. So do you still have the EC2 instance you launched? Is that still there?
Let me go see under instances.
Mhm.
I have this one.
Okay, that's the one you are trying to SSH into, and you are getting the error message, right?
Yes.
Okay. So open, let's try it now. Open your terminal, your item terminal. Okay. So I see the AOS notes directory there. Did you create that one, or is that a
I
directory you created?
Yeah, I created it just because just so I don't I
Oh,
like to have things like where I know where they are.
I see. Okay, cool. It's
Okay.
fine. It's totally fine. All right. So let's run your command to SSH into so I'm assuming your key pair is in that directory.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, it isn't.
Okay, perfect. So did you already also run the chmod, was it 400 on that key?
I did. Let me see if it still works though, just to double check.
I think you have to put the it's fine. I mean, if you already ran it, it's fine. If you haven't, will it will tell us. So
Oh,
it's
I did.
fine.
I did run it.
You ran it. Okay, cool. All right. So now let's SSH into your EC2 instance. So the command will be SSH -I. Then that will be yeah, the name of your keeper. Okay. Um, then the the username of your EC2 instance, which is
So
EC2 is always EC2
EC2
-user
user.
at then you have to copy the public IPv4 address of your server. So you
Is
see your server, your setup server that you have up now. The one
this
you set, yes, you need to copy that one. Yeah.
okay? All right.
And paste it there and press enter. Yeah. It's asking you the first time you try to SSH into an EC2 instance, it always asks you this question. So you type yes.
That's a mystery. How did it work now?
You,
Okay. Yes. All right.
there you go. So you are in.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
it seems like you were probably using the wrong IP address. So
What I was doing is I think I misread the comments. So I was doing like using my own IP address and I was like, it
exactly,
does not make sense to connect to my own IP address, but
exactly.
trying to connect to the instance and it won't work. So maybe it was the fact that my location where I was at, um, the network with the firewalls, maybe. But I did it at
It could
home
be.
too,
It could
and it
be.
didn't work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be. So always remember it is the command we ran to SSH into it. First, you have to make sure that you are in the same directory where your key pair is stored. Then that is the directory you run the command from. And the command is SSH-I, your key pair and EC2-user at it is always the public IPv4 address of your setup server. But I can also show you another way. I'm getting ready to start updating this. Um, I'm not, this is the WordPress course, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to update it. I'm going to start updating it this week. And in
Hmm.
the update, I'm going to include a different way to SSH into your EC2 instance because I think that will be much convenience for you guys moving forward when you have to SSH into your EC2 instance. So AWS has a service they just released last year. It's a feature they just released last year that allows you to SSH into your EC2 instance using an EC2 instance connect endpoint. So with that one, you don't have to worry about having key pairs and stuff like that. You can just use it, use the endpoint to SSH into your EC2 instance, and it is very easy to set up. So the course is going to have that. Plus, it also helps you. So when you get to the later part of the lecture, where you have to connect to your EC2 in the private subnet, you don't have to go through all the additional configuration that right now you have to do. So
Okay.
um,
Okay.
if you want, I can show you how to set that endpoint up in your on your computer. Then I mean not on your computer, on your in your VPC now. So that way later on you can use either that option or this option to SSH into your EC2 instance.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Okay. So to use that endpoint, the first thing we have to do is create a security group for the endpoint. So go in your VPC.
Oh, I'm actually in there right now.
You're in the EC2 right now. So search for VPC. You are in the EC2 service now.
Okay.
Okay. Then the first thing you are going to do is create a security group. So go to the, so first filter by your VPC. Okay. Then scroll down to security group section. Select security groups. Then uh, create security group. Okay. Scroll up. Right. Call it, name it EC2 Instance Connect. Or you can just short is EICE security group.
EICE.
E security group. Yeah.
One word?
You can hyphen it or space it, whichever way you prefer.
Okay.
All right. Use the same name as the description. Is that VPC your dev VPC? You can select the drop down just to make sure. No. So select your dev VPC.
There we go.
All right, cool. So for this one, we don't usually, it wouldn't have any inbound rule. So under inbound rule, there won't be anything. But for the outbound rule, we are going to add SSH.
Is that okay here?
SSH. And for the destination, that's going to be the CIDR block of your VPC. So remove that 0. Then you right click on that AWS logo and open another console in a new tab. You see the AWS console up there, the AWS logo.
This one?
No, the one to the left. So go all the way to your left.
This one?
Next one.
This one?
Yeah. So right click on it and select open link in new tab. So that's just going to open a new console so you don't click away from this. Go to that new tab you just opened. So go to your VPC service again. We just want to copy the CIDR block of your VPC.
Okay.
So here, yeah, select your dev VPC and select my VPC. So once you select it, yeah, select your VPCs right there.
Oh, your VPCs. Okay.
Okay. Then copy the CIDR block of your VPC, which is there. The one that says IPv4 CIDR.
Oh, this one.
So once you copy it, go back to your security group and paste it in that destination. There you go. Select it and scroll down and click create security group. Okay. So next we are going to now let's modify your web server security group to also allow this new security group you just created. So select security groups again and select your web server security group. It should be somewhere in there.
There it is.
Okay. Then click edit inbound rules. And click add rule. Okay. Select SSH under the custom TCP. Then under in the box there, select the EC2 Instance Connect security group you just created. Cool. And save it. Okay. And that's all you need to do. So now let's, in your VPC, click endpoint right there on the left side, on those menus on the left side. Yeah. Okay, now click create endpoint. Give the endpoint a name, call it any name, the same name. We're calling everything dev, so you can call it dev or EC2 Instance Connect endpoint, anything you want to call it, really.
This EC2 instance?
Is the EC2 Instance Connect endpoint. Just call it call it dev EICE. So the EICE stands for EC2 Instance Connect endpoint instead of typing the whole thing. Yeah. All right. Then you want to select EC2 Instance Connect endpoint on service category and scroll down. Under VPC, select your VPC. And scroll down. Under security groups, select the security groups you created for the EC2 Instance Connect endpoint. Perfect. Scroll down. So the EC2 Instance Connect endpoint, when you create the endpoint, it's always good to create it in a private subnet. So we are going to use your private data subnet. So for under subnet, select your private data subnet. Any one of your private data subnet. It doesn't matter which one you select. So that's your app one. The app one will work too. You can put it in the app, you can put it in data, but I always just put it in the data one.
Oh, is it just a preference?
Yeah, that's just my preference, but you can use the app. Anyone is fine. So
Okay.
it's just a preference, yeah. Then click create endpoint. Okay, so it is now creating it. If you scroll on this screen, if you kind of like the menu that is up there, if you scroll to the right, yeah, you would have to like kind of put your mouse up there where the device thing is, yeah, and see if you can drag it to the right. Or you know what, you see that line between service name, the line that has service name, can
Yeah.
so you go to the right where the line between the service name and the endpoint, yeah, drag that to minimize that. Okay, so this is what we want to see, the status. So it is still pending, and once it is available, then we will test whether we can use it. So the reason why I'm recommending this is because when you SSH into your EC2 instance in the public subnet, right? The one we just SSH into using a key pair, it is very straightforward to SSH into it.
Okay.
But in the coming lectures, you would have to put your real server in the private subnet. And to SSH into the EC2 instance in the private subnet, you can't use the same method we just used. You would have to set up an additional thing, set up additional configuration to allow you to SSH into it. That is when you set up a bastion host. Then
Mm-hmm.
you connect to the Bastion host, and from the Bastion host, you can connect to the uh, instance in the private subnet.
Oh,
But using this endpoint, you won't have to do any of that. You can just SSH into it directly.
okay. So when we get to that part of the course, then I guess.
This will come in handy, yes, because
Uh,
you won't have to set up all the additional thing because you'll just be able to connect into your private instance directly.
all
Okay.
right.
So once this is done, then we'll test it, make sure it's working. Then it will just be there for you to use. So when you SSH, you can either use the endpoint or you can use the SSH method you use. But the SSH method, the setup you have right now would only work for EC2 instance in the public subnet.
Yeah, not the private subnet. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Click refresh.
If I was to do for the public subnet, would this method work as well?
Yes, it will work. So you say the instance you just created in the public, once this is once this is running, we will test it. So I believe it would also work for the instance you have in the public subnet. So
Okay.
mhm. So once the status is running, we will test the instance you currently have running, and we will also test, we will launch another EC2 instance in the private subnet, and we will also test that one.
All right.
So how long have you been working on your AWS journey? Is this the first project you are working on, or you've worked on other projects in the past?
Well, this is um my first personal project because I started working like 6 months ago and I started working on AWS, but they already had stuff set up. It was just like sections of code that I was assigned to work on.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, so I can have a better understanding of just like AWS and also just how to set up your own website and
Mm-hmm.
how all those things they're talking about in AWS actually work instead of using them. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I need to do this myself.
Cool. Yeah, because it sounds like you already understand what you are doing, and I can tell just from you um going around, clicking around in the console that you are already comfortable with working with it.
Yeah, it makes me feel better. Thank you.
Yeah, it takes time, and it's just really, I'll tell you though, once you do one project like the one you are doing, a dynamic project like this,
Yeah.
the concept is the same for any other application you are trying to install. If the application is using a VPC with public and private subnet and database, and it's literally the same, you know. So
Okay.
what is always different is, I always tell those that I'm mentoring that what is always different is for every application, you know how every application has different framework.
Mm-hmm.
Like a website might be a WordPress website, another website might be a Node website, for example.
That
Depending,
would be like,
depending, go
would
ahead.
that be like apps like Android apps? Or
Exactly,
okay.
exactly. So based on the framework of the application you are trying to host, they all have different the installation process is different. So that's the only thing you have to understand. But in terms of setting up your network in AWS, setting up auto scaling group, application load balancer, security groups, it is the same process.
Okay.
So
That's
you
good.
so you can literally use the same example from this project and work on another project that is a dynamic project that uses a different framework and just follow the same process as this one. Um, that was really what I did when I started learning, and once I was able to figure out one project, and I just pretty much followed the same process for the rest. So
Okay.
click refresh over there. It usually takes about 7 minutes but I think it should be done now. Okay, cool. All right, it is now available. So now let's go to your EC2 console.
Let me actually look for it. Is that okay if I look for it here?
Yeah, it's
Or
good. It's
uh,
it's always a good practice to look for it there. That's what I always do.
okay.
All right. So then go to your instances running. Then select your EC2 instance, that one. Then you click connect up there. Then here you click the second option under connection type, click connect using EC2 instance connect endpoint. Then under EC2 instance connect endpoint, if you select that drop down, it should show up there. Okay, select it.
Perfect.
Yeah. Then click connect. That's all you have to do. So it is going to open a new kind of like terminal for you in the on the UI, and it should connect. And there you go.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that took a lot of it out. Wow.
Yeah. So this is in an EC2 instance in the public subnet. All right, now let's launch another EC2 instance in the private subnet. Then we will test whether we can connect to it.
Okay. Let me
So
see.
you can close this one. You can close that terminal because we're not going to. Yeah. So now launch another instance.
How would I know though?
Um, Oh no, we are not we are launching an EC2 instance. So go back to instances, click on instances. Yeah. So click launch instance. So you say this is the EC2 instance we just SSH into, right? So we
Mhm.
want to launch another EC2 instance in the private subnet. Then we will test whether we can SSH into it as well.
Okay.
So yeah, so just click launch instance.
Here?
Yeah. And then go through the process. So give your EC2 instance a name. So just call it a private instance or something. So that's no private EC2. So this is not your EIC anymore. So it's an
Oh,
EC2 instance.
EC2.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm getting confused over there. Oh,
Yes.
the EC2. Okay. I don't know why I had in my
Yeah, I
head.
think you stay at that the endpoint thing when you're on your mind. So all right. So EC2. Okay, cool. Then on the image, select your image. So one thing I would point out though, that one thing you should keep in mind, your setup server you launch, you would have to terminate it and launch a new one because the commands we are using to install WordPress on this project is based on Amazon Linux 2, not the 2023.
Okay.
So I noticed that the AMI of your setup server, it is Amazon 2023. So you're going to run into some issues if for some of the commands, they don't work on 2023. So
Oh,
under AMI here, you have to select the drop down and select Linux 2. So not in there. So you see where you have the quick start, right? Under that quick start tab, it would be Amazon, right? So you
and
see how, yeah, then under Amazon there, see, look at so that is fine. Then under Amazon machine image, that's where you select the AMI. So if you scroll up here, you can see Amazon Linux 2, that one.
okay.
So
And this is the most updated one?
no, the 2023 is the most updated one, but the project, the commands we are running in the project right now is based on this Linux 2
Okay.
AMI, but it will give you the same result. But I'm just saying, like, if you run some of the commands on the 2023, it is not going to work. But that's why when I update the course in the coming weeks, it would be updated to the latest one. So just something to keep in mind when you are completing the project, just use the Linux tool. It is the same. It will give you the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Then scroll down. So here we select our instance type T2 micro. That's fine. Scroll down. So on that key pair, remember this is where we select our key pair, but since we are going to use the endpoint, we can just click that drop down and select proceed without the key pair. Then under network settings, scroll up. Yeah, under network settings, click edit. Then you are going to select your VPC. Then launch it in a private subnet, your private app subnet. So it can be your first AZ1 or AZ2. So select any of your private app subnets.
App. Okay.
Yeah.
App subnets. Oh my word! I keep saying that. Okay, there we go.
Cool. Then under firewall security group, right? We are going to select an existing security group. So click select an existing security group, then select that drop down and pick your web server security group. Okay, then scroll down. And that's all we need to select. That's everything. Click launch instance.
Okay, now I see the difference between the public instance and the private instance.
Oh, okay. What did you notice?
Well, the big difference is for the private instance, you had to say it was a private instance. That's
Mm-hmm.
the biggest difference. And for the public one, it was you didn't specify the
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 IP, the
yeah,
IP
yeah,
type. Yeah,
yeah.
so that one, yes, you're right. Public instance would have a IP address, a public IPv4 address, but a private instance would not have one. So
Yeah.
when you are launching your EC2 instance, yes, you can specify that you have the option to enable or disable it. So yeah, so that's one of the main difference. But even when we launch an instance in the private subnet, it doesn't allow, that means that we don't want anyone to have direct access to it. So
Okay.
now you can select the IP address of that, I mean the instance ID that you see there. Okay. So yeah, we can test it. I think when it's initializing the status check, we can still connect to it. It's fine. So once you select it, click connect. Then you select connect using EC2 instance connect endpoint. Then you select your EC2 instance connect endpoint there. Yep. And you click connect. That's really all you have to do. There you
Oh,
go.
that worked.
Yeah. So it's much easier and much convenient way to connect into your EC2 instance in the public and the private subnet. And once you set up that endpoint, it is one step. You don't have to do, because in the course later on, you will see us setting up Bastion host,
Mm-hmm.
setting up, when you are connecting on the Mac, you have to um, set up agent forwarding and things like that. This process eliminates all that. So it's just a direct way to connect into your EC2 instance.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's what I wanted to show you. You can terminate both of your EC2 instance, but then you would have to launch watching the course to just launch your setup server again. but make sure you use you see how here it says Amazon Linux 2 for the one we just launched?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you want to make sure that the AMI for your EC2 instance is Amazon Linux 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
All right, cool. So let me know if you have any other questions, if you run into any other issues, and we'll jump on a call and we'll troubleshoot it.
Thank you, Aziz. I really appreciate your time and also showing me how to do this really cool stuff. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Anytime.